evening, good evening, good evening. So if you are here with me watching today, you are actually watching the first show in the Tuesdays with Tabitha episode, and I'm so glad to have you here. If you are new to me or this is your first time hanging out with me, my name is Tabitha Liebert and I am a conflict management strategist. And I help professional women of faith who are overwhelmed by workplace conflict lead thriving teams with confidence. I help them use all five of the conflict styles to succeed in the boardroom, in the conference room, in the classroom. And these skills are so highly transferable that I help people to lead from any room that they're in. So I'd like to welcome you to Tuesdays with Tabitha. If you are watching today or on the replay, this platform is a platform with a purpose. And the purpose is to openly talk about conflict and share tips to help you resolve conflict in your teams, in your civic spaces, wherever you are. So welcome and thank you for joining me. So today's video, we're gonna just talk about what conflict is. Sometimes we focus a lot on the bad things about it, but unless we get comfortable with talking about what it really is, it's really awkward, and sometimes we're not always able to deal with it and to handle it. You know, many people ask, what is conflict? And sometimes they're not confused. But it's the normal part of life. If you're living, if you're breathing, and if you're watching this video, then you would have experienced conflict, I'm quite sure. It's normal. It's something that we're going to expect to happen at some point in time. And it's essential sometimes. Think about teams, working towards a deadline, getting closer to something, being able to cooperate. Even though there's conflict, working through that conflict can help them to do that. So because we know it's inevitable, and because we know it is bound to happen, today in this episode, we're going to talk about what conflict is. Because if you don't know what it is, then most likely you don't get a lead into dealing with it. You don't lean into it. You tend to avoid it. If we don't know what conflict is, oftentimes we tend to avoid it because we're not sure how to deal with it, what to do when it pops up. And watching this video, understanding what conflict is, will help you to learn how to manage conflict. It's going to help you to learn how to deal with people in the workplace who you may not get along with. It may help you to deal with teams that you're challenged with. It will help you to manage that workplace conflict. It'll help you to slay productivity. It'll help you to work on getting your projects to succeed. It's going to help you to get promoted. It's going to help you to get paid. And most of all, it's going to help you to find peace. All of those are benefits from understanding what conflict is and learning how to deal with it. And so one of the things that we want to be sure that we know first is what it is. I remember in the past, I used to be triggered by so many events. Sometimes something that I overhear would trigger me. Sometimes something that I notice would upset me. Sometimes it's something that someone said to me and it would upset me. And I would be thinking about it when it happened, and I'd also think about it afterwards. And I'd be worrying, I'd be saying, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to approach it. I don't know what to take on or what to leave alone. And this is what happens when we don't know what conflict is. We don't know what to take on and we don't know what to leave alone and let it sort itself out. Because we often confuse conflict with indecision, with disagreements, with stress, and all of those are cause for concern, but they're not conflict. And if you don't know what it is, you find yourself reacting to issues as though they're conflicts when they're really, really not conflicts. And then you end up going down rabbit holes and dealing with people and dealing with things that you really don't need to deal with, because it's not always your battle. It's not even a battle to fight because it's not conflict. And what happens when you do that is that it can unnecessarily trigger stress hormones in your body that affect your mental process, that affect your physical well-being. And that can result in you becoming irritable. You can be unhappy. You can be constantly tired because of all of the stress. And sometimes people could actually view you as being difficult, unlikable, or unpleasant, when it's just that your focus was misplaced and you're overworking yourselves on issues that you don't need to be actually dealing with, because they're not necessarily conflict and you don't need to engage. And what happens then is that you're not always fully present to deal with the actual conflict that comes your way. Now, conflict awareness is a process of discovery. And when you do that, when you understand what it is, when you lean into that process of discovery, there's so many positive outcomes that can happen. So many positive things that can happen when you lean into it. Sometimes we give conflict a bad name and we give it a bad rap. But there are many positive outcomes of conflict. And some of them are teams finding creative solutions to get past an issue once they've been able to discuss it, Another positive outcome of conflict is social change. Think about Martin Luther King Jr. Think about Rosa Parks. Think about how they were able to advance the civil rights movement through nonviolence and through civil disobedience, but through peaceful processes. Yes, it was conflict, but it was peaceful processes that they worked out, that they studied, that they practiced, and they implemented, and that ignited social change. Martin Luther King said that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And so my encouragement to you today is not to avoid conflict, but to lean into it, to understand that it is something that you can use as a tool to affect change in a positive way, and to make sure that things that matter are put on the table and dealt with. And there are many, many ways of dealing with conflict. And so if you stay with me, if you stick around, and if you come back on Tuesdays at 2 for Tuesdays with Tabitha, we're going to talk about ways that we can actually affect conflict. Because there's a lot of clear decision making that comes when you're able to work it out, when you're able to work out conflict. There's a lot of apology and reconciliation that can come after conflict. And that is effective from in the home to actually on the worldwide stage when we think about international relations and we think about ways that people and countries deal with conflict. There's a lot of apology and reconciliation that has a place in conflict resolution. So if you're watching with me now live, or you're watching on the replay, I'd like you to think about whether or not you have witnessed any of those positive outcomes of conflict. The positive outcomes are teams finding creative solutions, positive social change, clear decision making after the conflict is dealt with, apology and reconciliation. And if you have witnessed any of those positive outcomes of conflict, I would love to hear it in the comments, whether you're watching live now or by the replay. On the replay, I'd love to hear if you've witnessed any of those positive outcomes of conflict. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We're going to find out today what it is that is conflict. What is conflict? It is a definition that I like, written by a practitioner called Christopher Moore. And he says that conflict is a struggle over values. It is competition for status, for power, and competition for scarce resources. If it fits in any of those buckets, then it is conflict. So if it is a struggle for over values, it's conflict. It's conflict if it's competition for status. It's conflict if it's competition for power. And it's conflict if it's competition for scarce resources. So now that you know what it is, and now that you have this definition and you can go through and look at situations to determine whether or not it is conflict, I want you to think about how you will react, or what are the possibilities if you find that something is not necessarily conflict. There are options for you. If it isn't conflict, you can do some research. You can weigh the pros and cons of what's happening so that you can make an informed decision and you can have less stress. If it's not conflict, then you can have some discussions. You can talk to a mentor or an advisor. You can talk to family and friends. You can talk to your spiritual advisors. You can talk to anyone who you trust, and you can discuss what's happening, and you can find options for a solution. If you look at this definition and you find that it's not conflict, you can also see whether or not you need rest, whether it's an issue that you need self-care. And what that looks like could be managing your time. It could be setting boundaries. It can be taking some time off just to reset. And you might find too that it's not conflict, but that you actually might need some medical care. You might need to consult a doctor or a therapist to ensure that you're physically well or you're mentally well and whole. Because it may be after you look at the definition and you see conflict is a struggle over values, it's a competition for status, power, or scarce resources, then what you are going through is not at all conflict. And so you might benefit from researching the issue, weighing the pros and cons, discussing it with a mentor, self-care, getting some rest, managing your time, setting some boundaries, or actually seeing a doctor because you may realize that there might be something in an issue with your health that might be triggering certain reactions and leading to conflict when it is not conflict. So in today's video, we learned how to analyze conflict, and we did that so that you can find the appropriate response, the best way to respond to it. We learned also how to deconstruct situations, how to look at them and to figure out if it is conflict or not. Yes? And we looked at how to decide when to intervene, whether it's to intervene in conflict or whether you actually need some self-intervention, taking care of yourself. Analyzing conflict is going to help you to learn the appropriate way to respond or conflict response. It's going to help you learn how to deconstruct situations, and it's going to help you to decide when to intervene and when to leave individuals alone to resolve things for themselves. And if you do that, it helps you to be a more effective manager in the workplace. Learning these things help you to be a more effective team leader. It helps your team to be more productive. It helps your projects to succeed. It helps you to get promoted and paid. And most of all, it helps you to find peace. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Tuesdays with Tabitha. If you would like some more tips, there is an ebook that I have, 31 Strategies to Successfully Resolve Conflict. I will put the link for the ebook in the comments, and you're welcome to download it and look at those strategies. You can also follow my Facebook page, Marshall Duke Consulting, or you can join my Facebook group, Your Resolution Room, where we break things down a little bit more, and we're going to have pop-up trainings. So I'll see you back here next week again on Tuesday at 2 for more conflict resolution and conflict management tips. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye now.